Hello, dear listeners, and welcome to Lben Tea House. I'm your friend and host, Lben. The topic we're discussing today may resonate with many older friends. It's a saying from Shanghai that goes, rather a bed in Puxi than a room in Pudong. What does this mean, you ask? Well, let's go back to the late 1980s. To alleviate the dense population and housing crunch in Puxi, Shanghai decided to develop the Pudong new area. But back then, whether in terms of the economy or transportation, Puxi was very developed, whereas Pudong was comparatively lagging. At the time, if you wanted to buy a pack of cigarettes in Pudong, you might have to walk a considerable distance. Thus, even if people in the old city had to squeeze 7 or 8 people into a tiny room of just a dozen square meters, they wouldn't want to move to Pudong for a slightly larger house. Because of this, the saying rather a bed in Puxi than a room in Pudong became widespread. It shows just how bustling Shanghai was at that time, the great world with its century of hustle and bustle, making it a vibrant place. Of course, times have changed, and the property prices in Pudong and Puxi today are nothing like they were back then. But that saying does reflect the social status of that time. Speaking of which, where was the most bustling area of Shanghai then? It was indeed around Xujiahui. This area used to be the center of the foreign concession, surrounded by prosperity and vitality. And the story we're sharing tonight also took place here. Set in 1993, our story occurs just before the Qian'an Lake incident in 1994. As we have mentioned before, there was a honeymoon period of interactions between the mainland and Taiwan around that time, with a substantial influx of Taiwanese investment into the mainland. In 93, Taiwan's Pacific Group opened the first Pacific department store in mainland China, located in Xujiahui. This news shook the whole of Shanghai at the time, creating a sensation with loud gongs, drums, and bustling crowds. Some of you may ask, is the opening of a department store worth such a big fuss? Well, you should know, before liberation, Shanghai had famous department stores such as Sincere and Sun Sun, both symbols of their era. However, those days were before liberation, and after a period, these renowned stores transformed into state-owned shops. So, the establishment of Pacific Department Store was like a fresh injection of blood into old Shanghai. While drawing attention, it also symbolized the change of an era. Let's listen to this strange event that occurred in bustling Xujiahui together. Dear friends, some younger listeners might find the term state-owned store unfamiliar. When I was a kid, visiting a store was a rare event. My father took me, and my curious little eyes would look everywhere. I remember seeing a large poster on the wall and asking, "What does that say?" My dad told me it meant customers must not be scolded or beaten. The fact that it had to be posted on the wall tells you how wonderful the shopping experience was in those stores at the time. Going back to 93, it wasn't as exaggerated as all that, but the department store opened by the Taiwanese did indeed cause a sensation in Shanghai, stirring up quite the buzz. The following story was personally shared with me by Sister Xia. We all call her Sister Xia now, but back in the story, she was much younger, so let's call her Little Xia. At that time, she worked on the 7th floor of Pacific Department Store in the home electronics section, introducing all sorts of fancy new electronic products every day, such as videocassette recorders, VCDs, portable TVs, home game consoles, and so forth. The people of Shanghai were wealthy, so this floor was always packed with customers, lively and bustling. But who could be livelier than the 7th floor? The 8th floor. It specialized in children's toys and even offered free play, as well as a kids' activity area. Often when parents shopped in the department store, the kids would stay there and play non-stop, having endless fun. However, Little Xia noticed that the foot traffic to the 8th floor had quietly reduced. When people usually shop in a department store, they work their way up from floor to floor, so why did it seem like lately people were reluctant to go up from the 7th floor? What was even more strange was that after a few days, Little Xia noticed that the 8th floor closed earlier than the other floors. Normally they would stay open until 10 p.m., but the 8th floor would shut down right after 8 p.m. Little Xia was quite envious, as she had come to Shanghai from Guangdong to make her way. Back then, her monthly salary plus bonuses was only about 500 or 600 RMB. If she could finish work earlier, she could go to a restaurant and work part-time to earn more money. Just think, having 1,000 RMB a month in 93 was a considerable sum. The thought of finishing work early was very tempting to Little Xia, and she even began to fantasize, if I could also work on the 8th floor selling toys, that would be so good. Let's follow the story of Little Xia and see what secrets are hidden on the 8th floor. One day, little Xia had an opportunity that seemed like something out of a dream. Usually, large department stores opened at 10 o'clock, but that day, people were already gathered by 9 and the doors were still closed. Suddenly, the manager came over with an internal recruitment notice. Little Xia saw it and thought, "Oh my god, this is exactly what I want." What did the notice read? The 8th floor toy department is internally recruiting 5 sales associates. Wasn't little Xia just wanting to sell toys? She was secretly pleased but then glanced down and saw that the working hours were still from 10 in the morning until 10 at night. This made little Xia a bit disappointed. She had thought that working in toys meant finishing early because of the 8th floor, but it looked like the new working hours were no different. Then there was the salary, a base pay of 800 plus bonuses. Little Xia did the math and figured, hey, she could still make 1,000 or so a month even without the waitressing job. She was on the verge of stepping forward to sign up when a colleague she got along with suddenly stopped her. "Where are you going?" "To sign up to sell toys." As soon as she said that, the colleague replied, "Are you crazy? Did you not know something happened upstairs?" After hearing this, little Xia panicked. "What? Something happened?" The colleague explained that it started last month, and hadn't she noticed that the 8th floor had been closing early recently? Little Xia said that was exactly why she wanted to sign up. "Ah, there's a demon in abnormality. Recently, the upper floor has been haunted." "Haunted?" Little Xia was shocked and startled. Here's the story. When the store first opened, business on every floor was booming, but then there was a dispute on the 8th floor between a customer and a sales associate. The customer complained about the quality of a toy they'd purchased, claiming that after only a few days, the child was covered in scratches and demanded compensation. Influenced by the 315 Consumer Rights Day program, everyone knew to ask for compensation for unsatisfactory purchases. However, the department store didn't admit any defects, and after a thorough inspection of the toy, they couldn't find any issue with it. It was just an ordinary cloth doll, soft-bodied with latex limbs and head. The disagreement escalated into a heated argument and eventually turned physical, which the store couldn't ignore. Even though the toy had no issues, physical conflict with a customer was absolutely unacceptable. In the end, they only settled the matter after offering a refund and additional compensation. Everyone thought that was the end of it, but one evening, during stock cleaning, another troubling event occurred. A female employee claimed that a toy doll had actually bitten her. I know it sounds absurd. How could a toy doll bite? What could be the secret behind this? That's the story we're about to uncover. The incident took place one night when all the other floors of the department store had already closed and turned out the lights. But the 8th floor was still lit because it had been a busy day and the toy shelves were a mess, which slowed down the cleanup. At about 11 o'clock, just when the employees were finishing up, a scream pierced the stillness. Everyone turned to see a girl, panicking and tumbling out from behind the shelves, crying out, "The doll is alive, it bit me." At first, nobody believed her. After all, how could a toy bite? But when they saw the unstoppable bleeding on her hand, panic set in. Upon closer inspection, they found fresh blood on the mouth of the cloth doll. An observant employee recognized it. Wasn't this the same doll from the earlier dispute? The situation suddenly became very serious. The injured employee spent the entire day lying in the dormitory, nearly unconscious by night time. To make things worse, over the next few nights, the security team reported hearing the sound of a baby crying on the upper floor. They had assumed it was one of the toys, but an investigation revealed that there was no issue with electrical leakage. During the investigation, the security team encountered a shocking sight in the middle of the night on the 8th floor corridor. A child was playing with an elephant toy. When approached, they were horrified to discover that the child had no eyeballs and a torn head, crying while playing. The security guard was so scared that he swung his baton at the child, but although the child's head was knocked off, the body didn't fall. Instead, there was a scream and the child's body, seemingly out of nowhere, started running down the corridor. The guard was terrified, running up and down the floors until, either from fright or some other reason, he jumped down from the 3rd floor, landing headfirst and also ending up in a coma. From then on, the haunting events on the 8th floor of the Pacific department store spread and even reached the headquarters in Taiwan. That's why the 8th floor had been closing early for a while. The story has been passed down unto this day. People still discuss this mysterious and terrifying night. In this story, the reputed restless spirits were dealt with in a way more superstitious than superstition itself. A geomancy consultant was specially invited from afar, seeming to be quite capable. He brought with him an old map of Shanghai from the time of the Republic of China. It was said that the location of our shopping center used to be a place called Infant Care Hall, where orphans were taken in and deceased infants were dealt with. In 1937, when Japan bombed Shanghai, many orphans died there horribly, and some surviving children were neglected due to the severity of the bombing. Afterwards, the government completely buried that site. The geomancy master said it was a case of white tiger idle death, resentment reaching heaven. To resolve this, 3 things had to be done. First, one had to rescue these lonely spirits and give them a chance to escape their suffering. How? The establishment of the Maternal and Child Health Association, funded by the Pacific Company, was meant for this very purpose. Second, it's hard to open the main door, wealth comes in. The design of Pacific's main gate is somewhat unique, and the current front door was reluctantly set to the south. Third, there needed to be a way to soothe these souls, but after all, it's a department store, not a temple, so they invited a monk from Thailand who mixed teachings into a cheerful song, then had a popular Hong Kong artist adapt and sing it in Mandarin. This song was played on loop in the Pacific department store for 7 years, with the hope to deliver all the restless spirits. This song is the well-known Baby, which appears to be about love, but if you listen closely to its lyrics, you'll understand its true meaning. When Sister Xia mentioned this, I asked if she surely hadn't gone to the 8th floor afterward, but to my surprise, not only had she gone, she also encountered a little ghost. She said that one late night after work, when she was on the 6th floor, she realized she had forgotten something and went back to the 8th floor alone. Only to find all the lights on the staircase turned off, and a child standing in front of the counter asking her if she liked the song that was always playing on loop. The child then said the song was useless to him because he was from Guangdong and that he wanted to scare himself tonight. Feeling uneasy, Sister Xia, who was also from Guangdong, decided to appease the little ghost by singing a Cantonese version of the song. Everyone has their own hardships, as some are cast away in deep seas, and some drift in the big waves of Hubei. As she sang, the little ghost knelt on the ground, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The lights of the store came back on, and the little ghost disappeared, leaving behind only a cute toy doll. This story seems to confirm the saying that there are no walls that wind does not pass through. The various legends of the 8th floor of the Pacific department store continue to be told to this day.